Chris Pratt takes on future aliens in the new Amazon sci-fi action movie The Tomorrow War. Here is a breakdown of the ending and the White Spikes' origins. Before we go on, please subscribe to our channel because we answer your most important questions about your favorite movies and TV shows. In The Tomorrow War, Chris Pratt plays Dan Forrester, who is a former soldier that finds himself back in combat when he's sent to the future to fight as a ruthless army of aliens are wiping out humanity. It's not until Dan Forrester meets a future version of his daughter, Muri, that he realizes she never intended to save the future, but to change it. Directed by Chris McKay, The Tomorrow War begins with several dozen soldiers from the future transporting themselves to the year 2022, led by Lieutenant Hart. They explain that they come from the year 2051, where only 500,000 humans are left alive on the planet, and their numbers are dwindling fast. To save humans from extinction, civilians from the present day are drafted as soldiers in this future war and sent through a wormhole in time to do 7-day tours of action. Only 30% of those drafted come back alive, and many of those are left with amputated limbs and severe PTSD. When Dan's time comes to be sent to the future, he discovers that his daughter Muri is leading the research arm of the military and has a plan to stop the aliens by creating a toxin that disintegrates them. The aliens are called the White Spikes because of their ability to fire lethal spikes in combat. Now, while there is still a chance to save mankind, the only way to do it is by making sure this apocalyptic war never happens in the first place. The soldiers who traveled back in time to recruit people from 2022 for the war claimed that they needed fighters in order to win the war, so they can start to rebuild civilization. However, the truth is that Muri already knew at that point that the war was lost, and her intention was to never save the remains of humanity in her own world. The real plan and the real cause for which all the drafted soldiers were fighting was simply to buy enough time to create a toxin capable of killing the female White Spike, so that the toxin could be sent back into the past and prevent the White Spikes from overrunning the planet in the first place. Muri tells Dan that she and all the other people in 2051 are living on borrowed time, and that time has been heavily paid for in blood. So where did the aliens come from in the first place? In the Tomorrow War's original timeline, the aliens suddenly appeared in northern Russia in 2048 and rapidly spread across the globe from there, eradicating the population to just 500,000 people in the space of 3 years. Now, it was assumed that the White Spikes were highly advanced and intelligent and had landed their ships on Earth so stealthily that no satellites or radar systems were able to detect them. However, this doesn't match what's seen throughout the movie. They don't use weapons or technology, and they just overpower humans through brute strength and numbers rather than through strategy and tactics. When Dan and the rest of the team finally find the White Spikes' ship in Russia, this odd contradiction is explained. The White Spikes are not an intelligent race, but are biological weapons that were being transported as cargo by an alien species of higher intelligence and slightly more humanoid experience. The aliens appear to be intergalactic colonists who use the White Spikes as a way of clearing out existing life forms on planets in order to move on and establish their own species on those planets. Unfortunately for these aliens and for humanity, they ended up accidentally crashing on Earth. Dan's student Martin, who's obsessed about ancient volcanoes, explains that the ash on the claws of White Spikes is from the eruption of Pektu Mountain in the 10th century in the year 946 AD, known as the Millennium Eruption, which was powerful enough to scatter ash as far as northern Russia. This means that the aliens crashed on Earth more than 1,000 years ago, and the White Spikes have lain dormant in the ice since then. Their emergence is the result of climate change and the melting of the polar ice caps, which by the year 2048 had uncovered the crashed ship in northern Russia. The White Spikes were being held in advanced cryogenic containment that had allowed them to survive, but when the ice melted, they may have been disturbed by predators going into the ship or by the ship itself from shifting. When some of the White Spikes were injected with the toxin and died, the noise of their death is all it took to wake up the others. So we can assume something similar had happened when the ice melted and woke them up in the first place. In the end, by getting to the White Spikes early, destroying the colony on board the ship, and killing the Queen, Dan wipes the apocalyptic future from the timeline and makes a better future possible. So what is the real meaning of the Tomorrow War's ending? The movie is largely, and at times explicitly, an allegory for the impact of climate change on the children and grandchildren of the current generation. In her opening message to the people of 2022, Lieutenant Hart says that they are calling on their parents and grandparents to act now in order to save them, and when Dan arrives in 2051, it becomes clear at this point that it is already too late to save mankind. Nothing that they can do in 2051 can prevent their extinction because they needed to have acted decades ago. While many people from the 2020s are willing to take action, others protest the draft by arguing that the war of 2051 is not their war, therefore they shouldn't have to deal with it. The connection between the melting of the polar ice caps footsteps and the release of the white spikes elevates this subtext to text. This greater meaning of the story also fits in with the movie's family drama. Just as Muri and the other survivors in 2051 reached out and asked for help, Dan's relationship with his father only begins to heal when he's able to put the pain of the past behind him and ask James to help him. After they kill the white spikes, the father and son return home and James is introduced to his granddaughter for the first time. This final scene captures the message of the rest of the movie. It will be too late to change things in the future, but it's not too late yet. Thank you very much for watching, drop a like and tell us down below what you think.